Hello everyone, and welcome to some more Monster Hunter World stoking of the flames of the hype. It's so close, I need it so much, but until just a few days hence, we need to keep shoveling excitement coal on this fire of fun. Just seriously. Oh, Look, admittedly, there's better impressions of someone shoveling coal onto a fire. Then again, I would posit that that's a particularly difficult voice thing to do. Either way, awkward and funny attention-losing intros aside, what we're going to do today, since the monster roster is seemingly complete now, we're going to talk about all of them, where they live, whose is whose bitch, and which ones, at least in my opinion, are the best, and just give me a kind of, I cannot wait to kill you and wear your skin vibe, which we all know and love as fellow hunters. So join me, let's discuss, and let's have some fun. Starting with the ancient forest, a lush, primeval, beautiful, sexy forest with all the right plants in all the right places, nothing artificially growing. It's just, it is nature's majesty at its finest, and there's just so much packed into it that it's legitimately probably the best jungly type environment realized in a game that I have ever played, and that's before we start battling something to the death in it. So, the things that we will be battling to the death in it, at least the things native to it, we have at the very bottom of the food chain, Great Jagras. And I do love that food chains are a big deal in Monster Hunter. If you actually just follow a monster round, Great Jagras, for example, won't just try and kill you if you don't provoke him. You can just follow them round and see them get up to their monstery shenanigans. And that's so cool to me. I kind of just totally want to get my observation on with the ghillie cloak and be like, and here we see the Great Jagras in its natural environment, hunting the Apton. Ratheon, he just swallowed it in one bite! You didn't tell me that was gonna happen! Jesus! And that's how the Jagras do. I'm excited for that. But either way, Great Jagras, a huge, unhinging jaw iguana with some lovely hair that hunts down Antonoth, leads the Jagras pack, regurgitates food to feed them, and is just generally a badass lizard. I love reptiles. I own 4 of them. This guy is right up my alley. An early entry-level monster, kind of just sits there and lets you kill it, but a great way to get involved with the game. Then, taking a little bit of a step up, we have the Pukey, who is our Chameleon Frog hybrid bird wyvern that eats nuts and stores them in its tail and gets different types of toxins out of them, uses scatter nuts to fire them at you, and he's basically just a tricksy little bully that likes to mess with smaller monsters and run away whoop 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 style from the larger ones. It's really quite cool. With a long tongue that'll lash out at you, he's just really fantastic, a beautiful creature, and a nice leg up from the Jagras. Then we have the Tobe Qaddafi, who is essentially a cross between a snake and a wolf, if you ever needed that unholy hybrid brought to you, and he is also looking fantastic. Super quick, super agile, has got that kind of flying squirrel aerial glidey flaps that he can use. Aerial glidey flap, real technical terms here at Rage Gaming, and he generates static electricity in his fur to do some lightning shenanigans. So I imagine this will be a lot of new players first. Okay, this guy is kind of overwhelming, holy shit going on, and I personally can't wait to hunt him. He seems to have a lot of good got you bitch moments. If you don't get that reference, that probably sounds like just really out of place. I realize. Just Google got you bitch. Maybe add Monster Hunter, actually. I'm curious, actually, what happens if you just Google got you bitch, just plainly. It's not great. Moving on, alright, we have Anjanath, a monster we've seen a lot of, a vulture crossed with a T-Rex. You probably know a lot about him, he's been featured heavily, so there's not much for me to add. I love that he has the sails that give him a little bit of photosynthesis action, his ridiculously good sense of smell, because while he can hunt, he does very much like his carrion, and it helps him find the rotting corpses, as well as, you know, find where you are hiding in a bush nearby, trying not to be spotted. But this guy, essentially for me, is kind of the perfect example of what a monster hunter fight should be. He's not crazy powerful, mystical, lightning blasty, but he is a believable monster while retaining that, like, fantastical, powerful, intimidating impression, and that's really, really cool. He's just a solid fight, and I'm happy with that. I like the colouring and the feathers as well. It's a nice touch. He's just a really solid monster. Rathalos then, the apex monster of the jungle. Don't really need to go on about him, do I? The OG Fire Wyvern, he has been around since the beginning. He's badass, ruling the roost in the top area in the ancient tree, and he just shows his dominance everywhere, okay? You'll be at a loss with the Wrath of Rathalos. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The only thing that can really challenge him is Deviljho, this just fury on legs. Coming in the first DLC, he is terrifying to every hunter, new and old. A insatiable appetite for carnage and, well, food. If you cut off his tail, he will turn around and go, "Thanks for the meal!" and then get back to murdering you like it's his day job, freshly invigorating by a bit of cannibalism. I mean, really, do you get more? Okay, this dude tries to hit you with another dude. I mean, who uses Great Chagras as a weapon? Deviljho does. Oh, man. And technically speaking, he doesn't have really a location. He kind of wanders. He's canonically never really had a territory, but he does fit mostly in the jungle. Either way, my ranking for this then goes thusly. Pookie at the top, because I love me my frog reptiles. I think he's fantastic. Then Deviljho, because, you know, the legend. Rathalos, classic, badass, a memorable monster for all of us. I think Great Chagras, the reptile, I can't help it. And then Anjanath, and then Tobe Qaddafi, because I don't like fast things as a Great Sword user. As cool as he does look, I feel like I'm going to find him irritating. On to the wild Spire Waste, and yes, I will speed this up. I realize we've got a lot to get through. Maybe I underestimate this, but I just love talking about this game and its intricacies, especially from the nature point of view. I really do. So I'm sorry if you feel like I go on a little bit too much in these. I don't try to. I'm just so into it. We have a beautiful, deserty, arid badlands with mud flats, and it's just such a cool, varied desert environment. I absolutely love it. Normally, I'm not a fan of deserts, and admittedly, it still doesn't do a crazy amount for me, but it is bloody awesome. Even just seeing the ant trails is wonderful. I really love this harsh, rocky terrain. And at the bottom of this food chain, well, we have Cooler Yaku. Who's cooler than you? He's got an eggplant. See you dead, fam. Sorry, I like Cooler Yaku. He's such a quirky, awesome little dinosaur. His feathers are beautiful. He picks up rocks as a shield, dunks them on bigger monster's head, and then runs away. Will sneak into your nest, steal your eggs, and eat your children, and all the time be just so, like, cheeky about it. I just want to be like, oh, you! Like, he is gonna be one of the biggest, oh, you monsters. I love the amount of personality they've got into him. He's super weak, but he's super fun, and I like that. I really, really do. Then we have Bharath, who essentially is Desert Anjanath, right? Like, he rolls around in mud, lets it harden, gives him a little bit of extra protection, has a lot of conflict with the other monster around his level, the Geratodus, who is essentially mud Plesioth, and Plesioth is just giant fish Rathalos, essentially water blasts, and he'll just throw his body around. The origin of the legendary hip check where they'll throw their weight to the side and the hitbox will hit you from one side of the world to the other. So I'm hoping that Gyarados isn't just mud Plesioth, because that would be kind of boring, but admittedly it is really cool to see Bharath walk through the mud plains and then get suddenly attacked from below and coiled round by the Jura as they fight each other and, you know, stalemate as they both do damage to the other. It's really impressive, so I'm excited to see how he ends up working. Then we have the Ratheon, who is the queen of the land to Rathalos's king of the sky, the female of the species, and filled with backflipping poison. She literally backflips and slaps you with her tail and poisons you and you won't prevail. I really don't like her compared to Rathalos. I don't like how she looks, I don't like her colouring, I don't like how she fights. She's never really done anything for me, Ratheon, but, you know, essentially female, more land and poison based Rathalos, it's fine, and she's supposedly desert bound in this game. Then at the top, the apex, we have Diablos, who is just pure badassery on legs. The demon of the desert, a horned nightmare. He is powerful, he just emits intimidation by the bucket load, yet he is a herbivore, which I love. He eats cacti, yet is still unquestionably dominant across the dunes. I think that is wonderful, that something has evolved to be that powerful and just terrifying, yet goes and has a quick little munch on some cacti. Weirdly though, in his official description on the world website, it says that he uses his sand traps to hear for prey, so I guess those cacti make a lot of noise and run away from him. They better not have retconned him to be a carnivore. I think that would take away a lot from his personality. And then you'll also fight the Elder Dragon Nergy here, who is said to be he who challenges the other Elder Dragons. They fear him. He's just essentially their bane. I like to imagine he hunts them. We don't really have a lot of info, but essentially he doesn't really have any elemental shenanigans. Normally an Elder Dragon with its ancient power is like Master of Flame or Thunder or Storm or, you know, yada yada yada. They've got lots of power coming out of them. Nergy just fucking fights you. He's just aggressive spike, raw physical prowess. He'll just kill you. And I like to imagine that that might uniquely counter an Elder Dragon because they're not used to dealing with such close quarters ferocity. So maybe that's why he's considered their bane, because right now I'm not sure how he beats someone who can make supernovas like Teostra, for example. Ridiculous regenerative properties. His spikes break off, he uses them for attacks and they grow right back. He's basically Wolverine in Elder Dragon form, which is awesome. I really love the look of him, and his armor looks like it's going to be amazing. So if I had to rank here, then we gotta go for Nergy, followed by Diablos, followed by, I'm actually going to give it to Kula Yaku, then Bharath, then Gyarados, and then Ratheon. So I think that's fair enough. I mean, obviously I want your guys' input on each of these as well. Then to the Coral Highlands. This place looks gorgeous. Absolute genius to effectively go, let's take a lush, beautiful, colourful coral reef, then get rid of the water and make it a mountainous region. Oh, perfect. At the bottom of that food chain, we have Tzitzi Yaku, who is essentially just big blue raptor, but he does have the fins on his head that emit a sort of flash-like blind that he uses to knock the flyers out the air and then preys upon them while they're stunned. It's really cool. You can watch him hunt if you do observe him for long enough, and he's just a good little raptor fight. He's not really too crazy. Then we have Paulumu, who is probably going to divide some people along the lines of, oh, look how cute he... Oh, kill it! Oh! I personally kind of feel like it's just going to be a little bit too goofy for me, but I don't know, I can kind of get the appeal. Has a lot of control over wind, generates a lot of it, gonna be frustrating in that sense. Puffs up its furry mane for extra defense and floatiness, and it's certainly a unique monster. I don't know, I really love bats, so I should like it. It divides me. This one I'm very interested on your opinions. And then the apex of the Coral Highlands, we have Lejiana. Apart from having the best roar since Amatsu, it's just gorgeous, right? This is a graceful, beautiful creature, up there with Bubble Dragon and, you know, aforementioned Amatsu, just so elegant in how it's murdering the hell out of you. It hunts the little flying white creatures around the place, grabs them in its talons, and goes to town on them, and it's essentially unchallenged in the Coral Highlands, at least when a certain Rotten Vale member isn't having a little bit of an explore, but we'll get to that later on. It can generate freezing winds around it, which lets it do frost-based attacks, and it should be, well, just really cool to fight. Yeah. I don't know, I've always had an affinity for the prettier, more graceful monsters, and this certainly ticks that checkbox. I mean, it's the ideal apex for a location as beautiful and mystical as the Coral Highlands, right? So, not a lot to rank here, given that there's 3 of them so far. But I would also assume that you would end up fighting maybe Kushladora here. I mean, the region for it isn't confirmed, so we can talk about it. One of the Elder Dragons, essentially iron for scales. It's a Elder Dragon of Wind. Very classically dragon, but no less cool for it in its appearance, and just has ridiculous wind-based attacks. Tornadoes, blasts, a permanent buffeting aura of wind around it that's not as bad now, but in his first iteration meant that essentially you couldn't just go near him or you'd get blown away. You had to poison him or weaken him in order to get it to drop, but it was so frustrating. He's super powerful and is going to be, well, quite intimidating when brought to life in World's New Standards. Honestly, I'm not really looking forward to fighting him. I really am not. And he sheds his whole skin like a reptile does and comes out white and gleaming, but you don't really get to see that form in game. But he's got a very cool life cycle. Then we get to ranking then, right? So gotta put Lejiana at top, then the Kushala, then Tizitsu, and then Paolumu, because I'm still convinced I'm just gonna really find it irritating. Then a very interesting area, the Rotten Vale, littered with corpses, a graveyard for all manner of creatures, located directly underneath the Coral Highlands. There's lots of deep gouges etched into the rocks, caves. It's a noxious place where the atmosphere itself is toxic. You don't want to be here. There's apparently a corpse of a Dalamander, the 500-foot-long giant snake monstrosity in the area. You have Legianas that have died in the Highlands and drifted and fallen, and you can find and carve their corpses in the Vale, which is really cool. Apparently the atmosphere down here just makes things more aggressive as well. It's not really a place you want to be. It's like Dark Souls-esque, honestly. It's super creepy and definitely a unique vibe for Monster Hunter. I'm looking forward to exploring it, but also kind of like, nope, I don't want to go near there. So the members of its ecosystem, for want of a better word, because everything's kind of fucking dead, is the Great Gyros at the bottom. Kind of the equivalent of the Great Jagras, leads the Gyros pack, but this one is a lot more aggressive, a little bit more powerful. He is kind of like snaky, he's got paralysis, and he's a bit more acrobatic. He's still not crazily difficult, but he does look fairly intimidating. He's got like a cobra hood going on, and he will fuck you up if you let him. His main threat will be paralyzing you while you're fighting something else, so you gotta watch out for that. Then we have the Radoban, which is essentially a bony, kind of almost undead version of Uragan, which we'll talk about later, but they are a closely related species, and essentially he's covered in the sticky stuff, so when he rolls over the bones, they get stuck to him, and that forms his kind of like armor shell that he's got going on. So I'm very curious as to what they look like without the bones on them, but there's even a Diablos horn there as well, so there's Diablos corpses in the Vale, and he's supposedly not that aggressive. Like, you can observe him, he won't immediately attack you, so he's probably the least immediately dangerous of the creatures there, but he's definitely got the size. He will turn into a ball, roll at you, and he looks kind of fun. For as much as I hate Uragan, his cousin, this guy does actually look pretty damn neat and certainly quite creepy. I mean, he's wearing armor of freaking bones. Then the creepiest and scariest of them all, the apex here, Odo Garron, essentially a giant red wolf of unparalleled speed and aggression that if you drop your guard will fuck you up in an instant. It is frighteningly fast and powerful from what I've seen, and I am not looking forward to fighting this thing. I don't like fast things, as I've said, and this guy is the powerhouse around here. He hunts carrion. You can see him drag corpses of Lejianas away if you watch him without letting him see you, and he just looks so intimidating. This lithe, evil-looking demon wolf, saber-toothed dog beast, and I don't know. I think he's gonna be awful to deal with. I'm not sure I'm a huge fan of his design, but what he represents, yeah, he's gonna be an intimidating fight, and the first time you face him is probably gonna be memorable. Then we have an elder dragon down here who almost seems to be like a zombie. Essentially, we only got a glimpse of him in the trailer. We don't know what he's called yet, but he really does look like just a reanimated corpse, so I've no idea what's going on here. A lot of people speculating that he's covered in dead flesh for whatever reason, maybe something to do with mold, but I mean, it's not going to be actually undead, because Monster Hunter isn't that kind of fantasy, so I'm very, very curious as to know what is up with him on a biological level. I want to know what his deal is, but he seems like someone who's probably going to produce loads of noxious fumes and gases, probably uses that as a defense, or indeed as an attack, maybe chokes his opponents out. He's fairly, like, slim for Elder Dragon, doesn't look super bulky, so I imagine he's going to be quite quick. His wings are very impressive, but they're riddled with holes, so maybe he's not going to be flying, more kind of like jumping around. I almost get the feeling he might fight like a Gala, which would be really cool, staying on the ground a lot, but very jumpy and agile and kind of ferocious with a little bit of a pause just to eye you up and really think about what it's doing. But yeah, either way, very fucking cool. Undead Dragon, I bet its armor's going to be amazing, and I bet it's going to be one hell of a fight. So my ranking for the Vale then would put Mr. Undead Dragon at the top. I mean, it just has to be. Then probably the Radoban. Then honestly, the next two would tie Great Gyros and Odo Garron. I can't see myself especially loving either of them. So, you know, the area is going to be cool, but I'm not a huge fan of the monsters that will be there. And that's it for areas and their inhabitants that we are 100% confirmed on. There is going to be a fifth zone, because there has to be, because there are monsters left to be assigned that don't make sense in any current map. The volcano area. There is an unnamed location that is kind of air quotes official but not official, but that seems to be a special arena where you will fight the game's end boss, and I guess we might as well talk about him. He is the Zora Magdaros. He's essentially the size of a fucking walking mountain. You can walk around on his back no problem and even fight other things on top of him as a platform. I have no idea what's going to be his deal, but he will definitely be the end boss of the whole thing. That's how it normally goes, and he's just colossal. I will imagine he's got something to do with why the Elder Dragons keep migrating here every 10 years, which is the main premise for this Monster Hunter, and he's essentially just a walking, smoking Godzilla of a rock mountain, and how we're even going to think about fighting something like that, I have no idea, but he does look really cool. So the final zone should be a lava area. I kind of wanted a zone that was half lava-y volcanic and half tundra and ice, and then you could have a proper conflict between some icy and fiery monsters. It would also give Kushlador and Teostra a place to compete over territory, and that's why they were fighting in the trailer, but I doubt it. There are 3 non-Elder Dragon monsters left that need assigning to an area, and those are the lovely, adorable, and just amazing Dodo Gama. Look at him, look at those eyes! Look into the face of mercy. He's a podgy, amazing lizard with beautiful colouring, and he uses blast attacks. He eats rocks and spits them back out as magma. Will try and make you explode. Should be a cool source for early game blast weapons, hopefully, but he looks fantastic. I'm so excited to fight this guy and see what kind of armor he makes too. I absolutely adore him. He's the most threatening of the basic lower level monsters, so he shouldn't be a complete pushover. I don't know. I would have loved him to be a little bit higher up on the old food chain. Then what should be in the middle of the volcanic area that we surely are getting should be Uragan. Essentially the non-kind of bone version of the Rotten Vale one, who is Mr. Crimson Chin, the returning monster. He eats ore and rolls around the place, and he's fine, right? He's fine. Doesn't do anything for me, but maybe how he's brought to life in World will change my opinion of him. I'm gonna go in open-minded. And then what I imagine will be the apex of the volcanic area is Laviosoth. Laviosoth? Basically Lava Plesioth, or Lava Geradios from the Wildspire Waste, a lava-swimming fish wyvern that can do, well, a lot of lava-based things. There's not really a lot to say about him, because he is just lava fish. But he is quite cool looking. He's the coolest of all of them visually, I would say. And he is certainly intimidating. I mean, anything that lives and swims through magma is gonna be quite impressive. And I could totally see him jumping out the water and trying to have a bite over one of the other two. I say water, magma, water. Same difference, right? Out of the other two. So we got that going on. And then we have Teostra, an elder dragon who loves his fire, has a huge command over it, gonna have new moves, capable of creating a freaking supernova. I talked about him in my Elder Dragon video. He is a majestic creature, a mane of gorgeousness, spreads explosive powder into the air, ignites it with his teeth, causes explosions to rack the land. He is so powerful and fearsome to fight. One-shots people notoriously if you get hit by certain attacks, and he should be amazing in World. And he seemed to be fighting Kushlodora, so maybe you fight both of them in the volcanic area, but it would be weird for Icy Windy Dragon to be there. I don't really know what's up with that. And then we have ourselves Kirin, who has just been spotted in some footage recently, who is Lightning Unicorn. Really fast, really tough, really annoying, but stupidly powerful. Paralysis City, and again, something that should be quite the awe-inspiring sight when in a World's setup. And he kind of appears wherever he sort of wants. He's said to be able to move so fast, he appears to be teleporting with lightning. So, yeah, take that however you will. Oh, but there you go, that's the entire roundup. And in terms of favourites of them, I mean, it has to be my absolute favorite is the blast lizard dude, Dodo Gama. He looks Dodo Gama even. I don't care names at this point. There's been so many. I love him to bits. I think he's going to be my favorite monster in the entire game. Then probably Teostra. Then the other three can kind of draw, because I don't think I like any of them. So, yeah. Let me know what you guys thought about this. It was quite the endeavor. Maybe underestimated just what was involved in talking about every goddamn monster that's going to be added. But I hope you still found this somewhat entertaining. Oh, let me know your favorites, your hopes, what you think of the zones, all of that good stuff. Like if you enjoyed it, subscribe for more. Patreon keeps my channel and more in-depth videos like this going, so please consider supporting it if you'd like that to continue, but don't feel compelled. Other than that, I'll see you soon. A goodbye.
Rage Gaming with the video flow, shenanigans and Overwatch, and his fans all know that every single thumbnail that this man makes without fail makes you do a double take, catching your attention with every verse. See, say that you need healing but you're at his mercy. Get it? Cause it's a pun. On his channel, that's one of the better ones. Widow is venomous, I see no end to this. Cataclysm's imminent when Rage is in his element. Pandemonium is not familiar with irrelevance. Maximum Genji beam, oh so elegant. Jokes so funny causing you to cry. Editing is quality as the noon is high. Yo, concussion man, shoot to the sky. Cap it all off with a goodbye.